Hello, welcome to this first lesson of Business Studies Topic 1. I am Mrs. Bibi Karima Korimbaker-Sleken and the target audience would be grade 10 and 11, O-level student, IGCSE and the IB student. So today we will be looking at the first chapter of business activity. So this chapter will explain the concept of needs, wants, scarcity, and opportunity costs, the importance of specialization, the purpose of business activity, the concept of adding value, and how added value can be increased. So let us start with the definition of business. Businesses produce goods and services to satisfy people's needs and wants. Goods and services. Goods are things that you can touch and see. For example, a ball, a bicycle, books, etc. Services are things that other people do for you, such as the cutting of the hair. Let us move on to needs and wants. Needs are goods and services that we must have in order to live. That is, the needs are essential for living. For example, you would not be able to live without food and drink, shelter, clothing, and the air. On the other hand, wants are items that we would like to have, although we won't die without them. They are luxuries. They are not essential for living. And people's wants are unlimited. For example, you want to have a computer, you want to have a bungalow, a car, or to go on holidays. Now we move on to production. Businesses use factors of production or what we call resources to produce goods and services. There are four factors of production and they are land, labor, capital, and enterprise. Now let us have a look of the definition of each. Land. Land are all the natural resources. For example, forests, metals, land, coal, oil, and gas. Labor. This is the number of people available to work. It also consists of the mental and physical effort of the labor. Capital. Capital consists of buildings, machinery, equipment, and finance needed for production of goods and services. And the last factor of production is enterprise. Enterprise is all about the ability, the skill, enthusiasm to take risk involved in developing a product. They are known as entrepreneurs. Now we move on to the economic problem. This happens when there are unlimited wants and these wants cannot be met. Why? Because there are limited factors of production, what we call the resources. Therefore, this creates scarcity. Scarcity is a situation when there are not enough goods to satisfy the wants for everybody. Because of this, we will have to choose which wants we will satisfy. Now, scarcity. Scarcity is the lack of sufficient products to fulfill the total wants of the population. That is, there are not enough goods and services to meet the wants of the population. unlimited wants plus limited resources is equal to scarcity. Now we move on to the next concept, which is opportunity costs. Since resources are limited and wants are unlimited, choices must be made. Therefore, opportunity cost is the next best alternative given up by choosing another one. That is what have been sacrificed. Let us have a look at the example on opportunity cost. For example, if you want to buy a trouser and a pair of shoes, but only have enough money to buy one of them. That is, you can buy only one of them. You have to choose which to buy. If you buy the pair of shoes, the opportunity cost is the trouser. That is what you have sacrificed. You are sacrificing the trouser. And if you buy the trouser, the opportunity cost is the pair of shoes. That is what you have given up. So, opportunity cost is all about what has been given up. That is what has been sacrificed. Now, let us move on to division of labor or specialization. Because there are limited resources, we need to use them in the most efficient way possible. That is, no wastage. Specialization occurs when people and businesses concentrate on what they are best at. Specialization is very common. Why? Because due to the availability of specialized machinery and technology. Secondly, because of increasing competition, this forces businesses to keep their costs low. And thirdly, most people recognize that higher living standards can result from being specialized. Therefore, specialization reduces the cost of production. This benefits consumers by providing more goods and services at a lower price than before specialization took place. So, when we look at the definition of division of labor, this is when the production process is split up into different tasks and each specialized worker or machine performs one of these tasks. When we are talking about splitting up of the task, in other words, it means the task has been broken down. So now let us move on to the advantages of division of labor. So the first advantage is that workers are trained in one task and specialize in this. Therefore, this increases efficiency and output. Secondly, less time is wasted switching jobs by the individual or moving from one workbench to another. And thirdly, it is much more quicker and cheaper to train workers, as fewer skills need to be taught. However, on the other hand, it leads to boredom from doing the same job. Therefore, this lowers efficiency. Secondly, there is no flexibility because workers can only do one job and cannot do others well if needed. And thirdly, if one worker is absent in one department and no one can replace him, the production process will stop. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of division of labor. Now let us have a look at the purpose of business activity. So what we have learned is that people have unlimited wants. The four factors of production, that is, the resources needed to make goods, are in limited supply. Scarcity results from limited resources and unlimited wants. Choice is necessary when resources are scarce. This leads to opportunity costs. Then, specialization improves the efficient use of resources. Now, we move on to another part of this unit, which is value added. So, what is value added? Value added of a business activity is the difference between the selling price and the cost of materials or components. A business that fails to attract customers will be unable to sell its product and will not add value to the resources that it has used. Let us move on to an example on value added. For example, you are making a table. So the selling price is $10 and the cost of both in materials and component is $7. So added value is equal to the selling price minus the cost of both in material, which is equal to 10 minus 7 is equal to 3. Hence, the value added is $3. Now, is profit the same as value added? No, profit is not the same as value added. Why? Because other costs are yet to be deducted. For example, we have to deduct the labor costs. Value added included profits and wages and salaries paid to labor. However, wages and salaries are also a cost to a business. So, like all other costs, they must be deducted from revenues to calculate the profit. So, this is the reason why value added is not the same as profit. Now, let us move on to how can a business increase added value. Firstly, by increasing its selling price but keep the cost same, or secondly, by decreasing its cost but keep the selling price same. Let us move on to an example. So how can a business increase added value? Firstly, increasing the selling price but keep the cost same. For example, if the selling price, however, if we increase the selling price but keep the cost same, do you think consumers will be prepared to pay a higher price? Secondly, if we decrease the cost but keep the selling price same, do you think consumers would pay for a low quality product where cheap raw materials are being used? Next, we move on to other ways to increase added value. So firstly, what can businesses do? They can use resources as efficiently as possible to produce as much output as it can from them. Secondly, they can reduce the waste. Thirdly, by reducing the cost of the natural and man-made resources it must buy or hire. Fourthly, by making products more attractive to consumers so they are willing to pay a higher price for them. Fifthly, by making its product more appealing to consumers through advertising. And lastly, by creating a recognized brand that consumers are willing to pay more. So what we have learned today in this lesson, We all have needs and wants. The main purpose of business activity is to supply the goods and services people want. Businesses produce goods and services using scarce resources, which are known as the factors of production, that is land, labor, capital, and enterprise. And lastly, value added to resources, because the work carried out to produce the finished product has a value that increases the value of the parts and raw material. So that's all for today. Thank you. I'll see you next time. Bye.